It's time for another huge debate on Full-Time Devils. Today, it's all about the first game of the season and who is going to be starting for Manchester United against Leicester City. You guys voted for this, so if you're not happy with the topic, it's your own fault. Joined today by Paul, by Joshi, and by Statman. Dave, hello, boys.
Hello.
Let's get straight into it then. That was a really enthusiastic hello, by the way. It's not even that early in the morning. It's 25 past 11. Come on, lads. Right, let's start by talking about the keepers. The keeper and the defence. I think we all know who's going to start in goal, but who is going to start along that back four, potentially back three? Paul, let's start with you, mate. What do you think we're going to do?
I think David De Gea is going to start in goal.
Do you reckon?
It's a wild shout. I mean, of course, there are two possible ways that doesn't happen. The first one is that somehow we sell him between now and the transfer window closing before the season ends. Let's all hope that doesn't happen, because I'm not sure Lee Grant's quite ready for the big time. And the other is that Mourinho decides that day needs a little bit more time, having got to the second round with Spain, but he's got plenty of time, so it'll be De Gea. And then I'm going with the back four. Antonio Valencia didn't play in the World Cup. Is Antonio Valencia? Jose Mourinho loves him. I don't think Diego Dalot is going to get his first start at right back in this game. Centre-back partnership, I think, is open to a great deal of debate. I've gone for two players, again, who didn't go to the World Cup. We'd imagine that Jones will still be on holiday, having ended the season as sort of joint first choice alongside Chris Smalling. I can't imagine, unless we sign a first-team defender between now and then, I think Smalling is kind of nailed on, given Mourinho seems to love him. And I've picked Eric Bailly alongside him, at least as much out of hope as expectation, given that Bailly was weirdly exorcised from the team at the end of last season, one of Jose Mourinho's many peculiar decisions. Luke Shaw, I can't believe I'm actually suggesting that Luke Shaw will be in a Man United starting lineup, but I think he might be.
Yeah.
He's obviously done a lot of fitness work this summer, and Ashley Young won't be ready, given that he went to the semi-finals and played in the fourth place playoffs. Actually, I'm not sure he even did play in that game. Oh yeah, he came on, didn't he? But anyway, so De Gea, Valencia, Bailly, Smalling, Shaw. That could easily have been the starting 11 at the starting keeper and defence at the beginning of last season, but I definitely think it will be the beginning of this season.
And you look really enthused at the fact that it's not changed too much, Paul. Also, that centre-half partnership, I don't understand why Chris Smalling would be starting this season over Victor Lindelof. I mean, obviously, he got through to the quarterfinals of the World Cup, so maybe if he wants to rest him because of that, fair enough. But I still think that Victor Lindelof is our second best centre-half at the club. Joshi, what do you say, mate?
No, yeah,
sorry, Paul.
On your point, I would like to see Lindelof and Bailly get a bit of a run in the side, but obviously we haven't seen that yet, and we're talking about the first match of this season, having had a World Cup, and I think Jose Mourinho has said that it's going to take a few weeks for these guys. They need a break. Then they're going to come back into the training sessions, and it's going to take them time to get up to speed. I don't think they're going to be involved in too many friendlies, the guys that were involved in the World Cup. So actually, my defence and goalkeeper is exactly the same as Paul for very much similar reasons. The only thing that I would put in there is if we do sign a centre-back, it will depend on obviously who that is. But even then, I think Jose Mourinho is that kind of guy. He doesn't really chuck players straight in. He gets them playing, in training sessions. If it's preseason, he'll want to see them in friendly matches before shoving them straight in. And we don't have a lot of time in the transfer window. So if you think about it, there's a very short amount of time. We could get someone in very late on, but I still don't see him being thrown straight in, whoever that might be, if it's whoever. Lots of names been mentioned. So I've gone with exactly the same as Paul for very, very similar reasons. The thing with Shaw, I think there are two things. Young has been at the World Cup, and it looks like he's putting in a bit of effort to get up to speed, and we'll just have to see how that goes. It's been a long time, and he's done this before. We'll just have to see how that goes, to be honest with you. But I can see if he hasn't shown that attitude in pre-season that Mourinho likes, Jose will chuck someone else in.
You could have someone like Marcus Rojo starting at left back or something like that. Dave, are you putting Rojo at left back, or are you going to agree with the guys and say that Shaw's going to start at left back? Because, I mean, most United fans thought his United career was over at the end of last season.
No, I think that's it's an interesting one there. He's obviously done some very good work in the off-season. Fair play to him. I think you've got to credit players for like that finally, look, he's maybe putting some work in, which is good. But I'm going to go from goalkeeper for start off because obviously Lee Grant is going to play between the sticks. Signing from Stoke City, big money move. So David De Gea is going to be misplaced. I'm only joking. It's going to be Big Dave coming off the back of not a suspect World Cup, but a World Cup where people sort of jumped on him in the media, which is absolute rubbish. I'd say
a little bit of a suspect World Cup, I'd say.
So moving on to my back four, I'm going to start Antonio Valencia at right back. I think again, Man United haven't really gone into the window and strengthened with someone that's going to be more quality than he is in that position. In terms of the two centre backs, I'm going to go Bailey Lindelof. I think that's the evolution of Manchester United. That's where Man United should be looking at. Bay's sort of strength and aggression, ball playing, and then Lindelof again, just a very dominant player on the floor, on the ball, off the ball. So I think that's the pairing United need to go with, and I'd like to see it from the start. I think that's the thing. Lindelof got to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. He's probably had enough time off. He's been around the world. He's been in LA. Now it's time for him to step up and become the defender that we wanted him to be last season. I think there's some slight weaknesses, but there's a lot of strengths. And if you can get those strengths and use those to build this player, you've got one hell of a centre back there. There's been linked with Bonucci, ball-playing centre-halves. We've got one on our own squad. We just need to work with him. And Bay Lindelof has got to be the pairing from day one. In terms of the left-back, I'm going to go with a bit of an outside shout. I think Diogo Dalot is going to be starting there. Mourinho is a manager that likes to play this sort of right-footed left-back. We saw it with Cesar Azpilicueta at Chelsea. I think Dalot will provide good balance, but also can go forward and enter that inverted position. Something that United haven't really worked on is their positional play when they're on the ball. Players coming inside and players going outside on the same flank. A winger with an inverted fullback is something that works well to overload that central area. Diego Dalot is very good at that, but he can also cross on that left foot. So I really think that he's going to step up there. Of course, Ashley Young had a very long World Cup and was the best left-back in the World Cup, voted by FIFA. So get into the comments, guys. Is Ashley Young the best thing since sliced bread? But Diogo Dalot is going to start against Leicester City.
Honestly, and he did have a good World Cup, Ashley Young, but come on.
It is a bit annoying that we're still talking about Valencia and Ashley Young.
I know.
Look, as well as they've done, and they have done well, it's always with the caveat of 4 converted wingers. But when you put them up against people who are specialists in that position, and specialist right backs, left backs, right wing backs, left wing backs, they don't match up. They're not good enough at that level.
I think that's a real red herring, Joshi. I think the fact that they're converted from a different position isn't the problem. In fact, you would kind of generally expect that a converted winger would be really effective going forward. And Antonio Valencia's biggest problems, bar the odd high-profile mistake, which he's almost eliminated from his game defensively, his biggest problem is his contribution in the attack.
Yeah.
His biggest problem isn't that he's a converted winger. It's he's not a good enough winger, essentially.
I'm not saying his problem is that he's a converted winger. I'm saying is when we judge their overall games, everyone's going, they're really, they've had excellent seasons. They have had excellent seasons in those positions but we always have that caveat that it's, you're judging them based on the fact that they've moved back. When in fact, for me, I just don't think they're good enough full stop in that position.
That's definitely true, but I like I said, I think the converted winger part isn't the problem. The problem is they're not good enough.
I love the way Dave's just being entertained by this, stroking his tash while he's watching you two argue. Right, guys, let's move on. Let's move on to the midfield now, because this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Obviously, we've got a lot of players from England, France, and Belgium that basically went the distance in the World Cup, played the max amount of games. So you'd presume that a lot of them won't be playing this game, the starting game against Leicester in the league. So who have you guys gone for in your midfield? And talk to me about formation as well. Dave, let's start with you, mate.
Well, I'm going to go for a 4-3-3. I think that's the most dominant formation in world football right now. And I think in terms of what United had last season with Pogba, Matic, and then somebody else, be it Scott McTominay, who played really well when he stepped up, Marouane Fellaini, or of course Ander Herrera. Now United have signed someone that can actually be in that team as first choice in Fred. Of course, he didn't play at the World Cup. Fred and Brazil were awful. The decisions by Tite not to play Firmino, not to play Fred in certain games was absolute madness. And again, the sticking with players like Gabriel Jesus that had an absolute stinky World Cup, didn't even score a goal. It's one of those things where you've got to look at that and think, well, Fred is still a very, 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 very good player and would have made Brazil look a lot better. So for me, Fred's the most exciting signing for Manchester United in the last few seasons. A central midfielder is a very, very good central midfielder, both in attack and defence. Very aggressive off the ball, looks to win it back, looks to win it high, presses really well, but when he's on the ball, he's really calm, chilled, moves into the space, dictates the play. And again, that's the two characteristics that you want with Paul Pogba. You want someone that will do his defensive work in that final third and also transition support Nemanja Matic, but also get on the ball and be able to thread the balls through to Paul Pogba. And that's why Fred is such an exciting signing. And in a three-man midfield with Pogba and Matic, you've got someone that can destroy, build up the play slow. Pogba, we saw at the World Cup, we saw another level to Pogba. We saw his leadership qualities. We saw him doing the defensive work. Only N'Golo Kante made more ball recoveries in the entire tournament. He was averaging 2.2 tackles, 1 per game. That was double what he managed in the Premier League last season. The whole sort of rubbish about Paul Pogba can't defend, it's just one of these things where maybe the system needs to be slightly tweaked to get the best out of Pogba at Manchester United. But with Fred in the side, allowing Pogba to be a little bit higher, that is just so exciting for me. And a three-man midfield is what United needs to do and where United needs to go. And that's where they will start with against Leicester City, is that three-man midfield.
Have you seen the video of Paul Pogba in the changing rooms giving the sort of team talk? Oh, it's incredible. I can't understand a word of it, but even I was feeling like quite roused by the whole thing. That was roused, by the way.
If only Cheeky Sport Dave had that video when we were doing the captain's debate, he might have won it.
exactly. Joshi, who are you putting in our midfield then? I mean, Dave's put Pogba in there. Do you think that Pogba will be starting?
No, I don't think so. He's obviously gone the distance in the World Cup. He's not going to join pre-season for another couple of weeks at least. And I just don't think Mourinho... I mean, I want to see him play as many games as possible, but obviously within reason. It's been an intense World Cup. He's going to have he needs a bit of downtime, a bit of rest and recuperation. So I don't think he'll start that Leicester game, but obviously, he's obviously our best midfielder, so he will be starting long term. But I have gone with a three-man midfield. I put Matic in there. He did play in the World Cup, but he didn't go deep, so I think he'll have had a bit of time off now and will be joining pre-season at some point and get a few games under his belt. He is someone who he's been very good, but he's also someone who's quite leggy and can get to that point quite quickly. So I think he does need some time off, but I still think he'll start. And then Dave's talked about Fred. He went to the World Cup, but he didn't play, so he should be fresh. He'll have a bit of time off, come back in. And then I've gone Ander Herrera as the third in that three-man midfield. He didn't go to the World Cup. He's had time off. He's not the best midfield player in the world, obviously, but he was effective in many games last season. He can do a job. And of the players that are remaining, when you start taking out Pogba, you start taking out because of the World Cup. You take out Fellaini because he was in the World Cup. Mourinho might have played him, but he went fairly deep. And McTominay, I don't know if he'll start straight up. So.
Joshi, you just mentioned then that Mourinho might play Marouane Fellaini in a game where Pogba doesn't play. No, Mourinho was definitely playing Marouane Fellaini if he could.
But the only reason I think he won't is because Belgium got to the semi-finals and Fellaini did play all the way through. Not in every game, but he did play. He did feature in quite a few of the matches. So that was my three-man midfield. It's not the most exciting going forward. But you've got to sort of balance it out with everything we've already talked about in terms of the rest that's needed for our best players that have been in the World Cup.
Paul, a lot of people talk about the signing of Fred and how it's going to unlock Paul Pogba because apparently he needs unlocking. How's he going to play alongside other midfielders in this midfield then? Because I'm presuming that you've not put Paul in your team either.
No, I mean, I want to say that I don't know why we're discussing as part of a debate the idea that any of the players who played for any of the semi-finalists will be in this starting 11.
Yeah, Dave
said they're all getting 3 weeks off. I feel like I could look really foolish when they're playing, but Mourinho said I'd like to have them, but then you don't have them a few weeks later. I think he'll give them all 3 weeks break, and there's no chance that any England, Belgian or France players, that's just Pogba obviously, will be part of this 11. Like, it's just not going to happen. Of course we would like it to, but I would like it in a vacuum. We'd like to have them, but I think it would be madness to put players that went that deep into the World Cup. I also liked it when Joshi said Fellaini went fairly deep into the World Cup. Played as many games, like Belgium played as many games as it's possible to play. That is fairly deep, I guess. Obviously, you're right. He didn't play in all of them, but it's not even it's not about the minutes, is it? It's not about the minutes they played. It's about the fact that they haven't had the mental break that you need. I'm like, professional footballers need a holiday in the summer. It's not optional. How's Fred going to play with other midfielders? Gaz, I've got a confession to make. Do you know how much Shakhtar Donetsk I've watched?
You tell me, Paul.
I've not watched a lot of Shakhtar Donetsk. Can't believe you didn't ask Dave that question.
Amateur
Dave's
football fan.
Pro at this. Like, he knows all about Fred. He's more excited about the signing of Fred than any other player we've signed in the last couple of seasons, which includes Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Paul Pogba. That's how much Dave
Sanchez.
likes Fred. And Alexis Sanchez. I'm more excited about the signing of Fred than Alexis Sanchez, to be fair.
But at the time.
I've gone for a three-man midfield, not necessarily because I believe that it's the formation Mourinho will play all season, although I mean, the only reason he won't be playing 4-3-3 all season is to fit more of our attacking players into the side. But I think given the absence of Lingard, Rashford, Lukaku in the attacking capacity, I think it only makes sense to play front three in this game. Hopefully he'll stick with a 4-3-3 all summer, and Fred Matic Herrera is just the completely obvious pick. I guess the only question there is whether Mourinho will start Fred or not, given his peculiar approach to bedding in signings that he doesn't think are necessarily fully ready for the Premier League. I have no idea whether Fred fits into that category or not, but Dave would know.
Okay, we will be back shortly then talking about the attack and who these guys think United will be playing up front against Leicester, and also a wildcard round. Any other player in world football to put in your teams if you want to. It's on the way. All right, guys, let's talk about the attack then. Who is playing up front for United against Leicester? Who have we not started with yet? We've not started with Joshi yet, have we? Joshi, talk to me. Who's up top?
Yeah, again, so we've already talked about people being in the World Cup. So that takes out Lukaku, takes out Lingard, takes out Rashford. So you're coming, I wouldn't say bare bones, but you're coming down to the rest of the side.
Sure.
So I think, look, Sanchez, assuming he sorts out his visa issues and ends up on that pre-season tour at some point, will start, and it will be on the left because that's apparently something that's been written into his contract or whatever. I think he'll start, and then from there, if we're honest, we don't have a huge amount of choice. You've got Anthony Martial, and you're hoping in pre-season he finds his form. I think going forward, Lukaku, Rashford are the other strikers. So I think Martial would have to start up front. And then Juan Mata on the other side, I think, for me, on the right-hand side. He played there a lot last season. I'm not saying these are the best options, but then when you think about who the other players coming in might be, like Andreas Pereira, you got Chong, you got Angel Gomez, but I don't see any of them really doing enough in pre-season to just come in and be starting up against Leicester. So it kind of leaves you with those three, doesn't it? Unless we sign someone, but again, all the other caveats come into play. Were they in the World Cup? When do we sign them? How much time have they had with the squad? Those types of things. And I think we're going to leave our business till quite late now that the pre-season tour has started. So that's my front three for the opening game against Leicester.
There's more chance of Lionel Messi starting the first game against Leicester than there is Angel Gomez and Tahith Chong. I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? So there's no one sort of behind the three that I've picked that I could think of that could sort of say, all right, we're going to go in there.
Still think it's a good team, and I'd love Tony Marshall to start as well. Statman Dave, what you say, mate?
Interesting things. This whole 3 weeks off for the players, if that's the case, I was going to go Lingard, Lukaku, Sanchez. But
There's no way Lingard and Lukaku will play.
I'd change my team up completely and go 4-2-3-1. Fred, Matic in midfield together, then Mata, Sanchez, Chong, Martial through the middle, which would be an exciting team. But a bit different than what I thought before.
Honestly, right? No, we're done. We're done here.
I'm predicting it's going to be Lingard, Lukaku, and Sanchez. The lads are going to be back. The lads are going to score 10 goals. I'm going to win 10-0.
Paul, correct this nonsense.
I just really enjoy the idea that Tahith Chong might be in someone's predicted 11 for Jose Mourinho's first game of the season. Something's happened. Mourinho's like, he's been out in Russia all summer watching the World Cup. It's like, wait a minute, is football supposed to be fun? But it's not. So we're going to start Mata, Martial and Sanchez. It's actually a really fun front three. The one thing, I've got Martial in the middle, but I also would not be surprised to see Sanchez up top and Martial on the left. And the other thing that I wouldn't be surprised about is a really depressing prospect, and that is whichever bang average big man Mourinho signs to be a backup for Lukaku when he's not available, starts up front with Sanchez on the left, Mata on the right.
Zuba.
Oh, mate.
It's good.
Llorente is like, that's my nightmare scenario. Is that Fernando? Not that he's a terrible player or anything, but Fernando Llorente starting up top in this game is horrid nightmare. But I genuinely think that is more likely than Tahith Chong starting.
Do you want a back ball?
Right then, guys, we've got your predictive starting 11 from the current Manchester United crop. However, what I'm going to do now is offer you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of getting a wildcard player in there. One player from the rest of the world of football to improve that starting 11 for United against Leicester. Interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure that Paul and Joshi have the exact same team at this point. So this is where either of you can win the argument, because let's face it, Dave's not going to. So, yeah, guys, tell me your wild card, and then I'm going to give you 30 seconds to debate why your team is the best. So, Joshi, what's up, mate?
Can I ask, what are the parameters for this wild card? Are we still putting the same conditions on these players in that they've played in the World Cups, they wouldn't start that first game? Or is this just fantasy, point. Whoever we want, shove him in there, and into your 11, and regardless of the other stuff that's going around.
You know, listen, the guys watching, they've seen the team that you've put out already. They know that that's what you'd say out the current crop. So this can just be fantasy. If there's one player you could get this summer to get in for that first game, who would you get?
Ooh.
I know who it would be, because I know the position that we're lacking in for that first game based on your teams already.
Yeah. Who would it be, Gaz?
I'd go for Mbappe. It's got to be Mbappe, hasn't it? It's got to be. He's probably the best player at the World Cup, where Lukaku's going to be out for the first game. In fantasy land, I'd get Kylian Mbappe in to start the first game.
Well, there you go.
Great stuff.
Why do I bother?
Genuinely, because he's been playing on the right-hand side for France and for PSG, and that is an area where we don't have anyone that's really cemented that spot. I'd like to see, like, just forgetting the fantasy side of things, Rashford maybe having a go out there on an extended basis, seeing how he gets on with the other players. I don't think we will, but seeing the way in which Mbappe has adapted the way he's playing. I'm not saying Rashford is on the same level, but they're similar players in their pace, and Rashford's got that close ball control. So we could, and he's got good delivery as well. So that's something that I wouldn't mind seeing. But yeah, look, Mbappe on that right-hand side with Mata, he's a game changer as well, isn't he? Electric pace, skill, excellent delivery, really intelligent player. Will drop deep if he wants to. He just got great awareness as well. He picked out some really good balls in those last few games. Really came into his own in those knockout stages. And that is the obvious, to me, weakness in this side. Oh, there's so many weaknesses. That's the biggest one. That's the biggest one. I go, Mbappe is the man.
Go on then, Paul. Who you say, mate?
I'm going to say, il est petit, il est gentil, il a stoppé Leo Messi.
Love it.
It's un N'Golo Kante. France is not the player that's going to get any of the major headlines of the tournament. One of the most vital cogs in France's brilliant win. We've seen him he won back-to-back Premier League titles with different teams. Vital cog. And the kind of player that will allow Mourinho to really let the horses run free, because he'll feel that the back four is properly protected. The reason that I prefer N'Golo Kante to Kylian Mbappe isn't because he's a better player, because it would be madness to suggest such a thing. It's about the power that he would have to unlock the rest of our squad. Our squad is not short on lightning quick, incredibly skilled attackers. It is short on defensive midfielders who can really do the job. Now, maybe Dave will tell me that Fred is on that level as a defensive midfielder, but Matic certainly isn't. So yeah, for me it would be take out Herrera in this 11 and put N'Golo Kante in there because I think he would change the future of Manchester United.
But we're talking about this match, right? Because if you switch it around and stuff.
Joshi, you're overcomplicating everything. Paul wants the smiliest man in world football in his team. We need to move on. So Dave,
hold on. One second though.
Go on.
1 second though. I would say that you described this as a once in a lifetime opportunity, but I did get to do this last season, and I used that wild card on Lionel Messi. Just to be clear, I don't like my first wild card was actually used on. So I'm assuming that wild card carried over, and we've already got Messi.
I don't remember us ever doing a starting 11 debate on this channel. I don't remember any of them. Dave, who would you have as a wild card, pal, if you want one?
Well, I think that the game here is that I've just won because both of these guys have picked two guys in the World Cup final, and the reason why my team wasn't the right team was because there was players that played in that World Cup final. So I'm going to completely scrap my team.
We've just been over this, Dave.
Hold on.
That's why I confirmed the parameters of the debate of the wild card.
Can I go for this now? Yeah, am I free?
Go on.
Right. So Man United are going to set up a 4-2-3-1. It's going to be David De Gea in goal, Delo at right back, two centre halves, Chris Smalling and Eric Bailly, both fitting in the parameters of all the arguments. And then, of course, the signing, Alexandro. You've both been banging on for the whole debate about we don't have any fullbacks, yet you've picked a right midfielder and a central midfielder. You guys are crazy, and that's why I've won the debate. Fred Matic in midfield, and then three behind, of course, Anthony Martial, Juan Mata, Alexis Sanchez, and Chong.
We're not crazy. It's just that you think there's only one problem with Man United side. There's plenty of problems with Man United. Right-sided attacker, problem. Central midfield, problem. Fullback.
I think right-sided attacker's not a problem. I think that's an issue that's more on the wing backs than the attacking players in a way.
I feel like David Moyes all over again. I feel like David Moyes all over again. The problem is we need to improve in defence, midfield, and attack. That's the only problem, though. Once we sort that out.
And passing and shooting and tackling and heading. No, but look, the way I approach this for my wild card is for that match. That's the thing, and it's Leicester.
Right, we're overcomplicating it.
You've got the solid base of you've got the three in midfield protecting that fairly dodgy base at the back. So what do? Just bang in a world-class
that's how football
generational
works.
Right, okay, guys, we need to move on. We need to move on. I'm enjoying the debate, but we need to move on. We need to do the 30-second round because this is where I actually decide who's won this godforsaken debate. You know what? Let's start. Who did we start with first? Let's start with Dave for this one. Dave, you've got 30 seconds to tell me why your predicted team with Tahith Chong in the starting 11 is the best one. Dave, talk to me. Go.
Well, first up, the 4-2-3-1 is going to be selected by Mourinho against Leicester City. I've also changed my team, evaluated the options, and now my team didn't play at the World Cup, so I'm absolutely fine. And Chong is going to be the key guy on the left wing for Manchester United against Leicester City. He's going to absolutely destroy Danny Simpson. He's never going to play football again, and Chong is going to become the hero of the world.
Do you know what?
You've done it with 10 seconds to spare, despite
Don't need it, man.
Despite the fact that Lingard and Lukaku are going to be breathing out their arse, but Tahith Chong is going to make up for it, is he? Right, Paul, you've got 30 seconds, not 20, 30. Start now. Tell me why your team's the best. Go.
I mean, my team is not the best, it's the most accurate because I went for the most Route 1 slightly depressing options available to us for the most part. And Jose Mourinho is our manager, so Route 1 and slightly depressing is going to be the order of the day for the entire season. Given the players unavailable because of the World Cup, I think the starting 11 picks itself. So that's why the key is the wild card. And Gaz, I just want you to picture N'Golo Kante's smiling face in a red shirt.
And that's it. 30 seconds. Absolutely bang on. Okay. And I would like N'Golo Kante to be at United. However, I'd maybe slightly prefer Kylian Mbappe. But let's see what Joshi has to say. Joshi, you got 30 seconds. Convince me. Go.
So, look, it's a predicted 11. I think, minus the wild card, obviously, I think that's probably the most accurate. Similar reasons to Paul. But then you look at that team against Leicester. The real issue is with Mata down that right-hand side. And look, stick in a player with electric pace, who's emerging as a potential generational talent. Give him the ball. Give him the ball. It's a fantasy wild card, guys. Put him in there. against Leicester,
Bang.
we don't need
Oh.
that left back.
Yeah, like I say,
just
look.
put Mbappe in there, getting to sort.
Joshi's looked at that 11 with two of the front three are Martial and Sanchez and gone, there's not enough pace and skill in this attack.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Right,
that.
you know what? Like the wild card was obviously a fancy, and I'm more really going off the team that you picked before that. The thing is, Joshi and Paul picked the exact same team, so for this debate, I'm just going to say everyone's a winner, apart from Dave. So you've heard what us lot have to say. You can vote for your winner in the corner as well. Maybe Statman Dave will get the win in your books because you genuinely believe that Tahith Chong will be starting the first game of the season for Manchester United. You can go and follow all the guys from this video. Joshi is back on Twitter on his new account. Go and check out that at. Statman Dave is on YouTube. Statman, what are you approaching now? What milestone?
50,000.
50,000. Let's see if we can get him over there. So go and subscribe to Statman Dave on YouTube. And Paul has, of course, got the Rantcast podcast, probably the best Man United podcast out there at the minute. So go and check that out as well. Right, guys, we'll catch you next time. Laters.